What's going on, gardeners? It's Sunday, July 25th, and it is a gorgeous summer day here on the southeastern coast of North Carolina. And today I'm going to show you all how to double your pepper harvest every single season. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell to receive new video notifications, and check out our Amazon storefront and spread shop in the video description for a list of the gardening products I use and awesome custom designed apparel and other gear. Your support is greatly appreciated. If you're a new gardener and you ask me what I think is the one annual vegetable that you should begin vegetable gardening with, it would be the pepper plant. The pepper plant is one of the greatest plants for you to learn on as a gardener because they are so widely adaptable and they do so well in such a wide variety of climates and environments. Whether you live in a place with shorter summers or if you have long, drawn-out, oppressive humidity, peppers can flourish. They're very disease resistant, they fruit readily, they fruit quickly, as in they don't have a long days to maturity on many varieties. The seeds are cheap and plentiful, and there's just a million different varieties that you could try. There's such a wide variety that everybody can find a pepper that they enjoy to grow. One mistake that I find that a lot of gardeners make is that they consider pepper plants to be single bearers, meaning they get that big flush of fruit, you pick all of the fruits off your peppers, and then you harvest them, and then you rip them out and you think they're done. And that's really a mistake, because pepper plants actually can be grown as perennials if you live in a place where it does not frost or freeze. Pepper plants can live many years, and I've grown them in containers. I've overwintered them for 3 years straight, and they do really well. If you have a really conducive environment for them, you can grow the same pepper plant for 5 years or so, maybe even longer. Now, the key to growing pepper plants and having that same plant produced for you over and over and over again is fertilizing them. Pepper plants are heavy feeders, so when you pick them clean, they are going to need a big boost of NPK in order to get them to flower and grow more and fruit more. And the secret that I think to growing peppers is to give them a higher phosphorus feed that are typically sold as bloom booster style fertilizers. They will result in a huge flush of new flowers that will eventually turn into fruits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to harvest my peppers, all of the ones that are mature here. I'm going to pick the plants pretty clean because I have a really big crop in here, and I'm going to pickle them inside because I'm going to have such a large haul, I think. Then I'm going to come back out here and I'm going to show you exactly how to fertilize these pepper plants to give them a whole new flush of blooms, and you can double your pepper harvest, even triple or quadruple your pepper harvest by following the same pattern over and over again throughout the season. Now, before you start harvesting, I have 2 tips for you. The first tip is have a small pair of shears with you, and that's because some pepper types don't detach easily. Rather than tug at the plant, make sure you have a little pair of shears to clip the peppers off if they don't easily release. Cherry peppers are notorious for this. They don't come off the plant easily without cutting them. If you need a small pair of shears, I have this exact type linked in my Amazon storefront in the video description. The second tip I want to give you is have yourself some kind of basket to collect the good peppers, but also have a bucket for the spoiled peppers. Spoiled fruits are a magnet for bugs and fruit flies, so getting rid of all of the waste will help keep the pest population down in your garden. And here you can see how many fewer peppers there are now. I only left the green peppers. I removed all of the red and maturing peppers. So I want to establish this as a base mark so I can show you my pepper plants are fairly barren. I would say they probably have about 40% of the fruit that started on here. The other thing that you'll notice is there are few to no blooms on the pepper plants. So keep that in mind, and that's because they were all putting their energy into supporting and ripening the fruit. So now that I've removed a lot of the fruit load, that will prime them for another blooming cycle after I show you how to fertilize. Then this plant right here is the cherry pepper that I overwintered from last year. This is the plant's second full season. I picked this clean, so as you can see there's little to no fruit on it. There are little to no blooms on it. So we're going to give this the same bloom boosting protocol and hope I get my 6th or 7th, maybe even 8th crop off of this plant. And here we have our pepper harvest. These are all hot peppers. So I'm going to take them inside and I'm going to can them in mason jars with some pickling brine. Now before we discuss how to fertilize, you have to understand how to read bags of fertilizer. On each bag of fertilizer you will see 3 numbers separated by 2 dashes, and that is the NP-K ratio. N, P, and K are symbols found on the periodic table of elements. N stands for nitrogen, P stands for phosphorus, K stands for potassium. Just like fats, carbohydrates, and proteins are the 3 macronutrients for a human being, the 3 macronutrients dominant for a plant are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And the ratios of fertilizers triggers different elements of growth within the plant. Nitrogen is responsible for the leafy green growth of a plant, so new leaves, new branches, new vines, that comes out of the nitrogen macronutrient. The middle macronutrient, phosphorus, is responsible for root growth and fruiting on plants that bear fruit. That is the number that we're really interested in. And the third number is potassium. That is responsible for cellular division and the overall metabolic health of the plant. Now the bag on the right is a 20-20-20 general purpose fertilizer, and it has an NPK ratio of 1:1:1. The reason why this is balanced is because there is a tug of war of nutrients that go on when you fertilize. If you give a plant fertilizer that has a high nitrogen to phosphorus ratio, it will prefer in general to grow more greens and fruit less. If you give a plant a higher phosphorus to nitrogen ratio, you are telling the plant to flower more, generate more blooms, and fruit more heavily, and put less of its energy budget into growing new leaves and stems. In the beginning of the season, when you want your transplants to grow into tall, strong plants, it's important to give them high nitrogen-based fertilizers. But because we already have fully developed pepper plants, we want higher phosphorus fertilizers. We don't want to grow leaves and stems. We want to grow blossoms and fruits. So that's why we are going to use this blossom booster formula right here. These fertilizers are made by Jax. It's a very high quality soluble fertilizer, and if you're interested in these large bags, I have them linked in my Amazon storefront. It's a great way to save money if you need large quantities of fertilizer. However, if you don't need this much fertilizer, you can just go to any big box store and you can buy Miracle-Gro. The Miracle-Gro substitute best for this blossom booster is their Bloom Booster 15-30-15. And for this general purpose fertilizer, the best substitute is Miracle-Gro Tomato 18-18-21. They have similar NPK ratios, so if you only need to fertilize a few plants, you can just go ahead and you can buy that. I also have the Miracle-Gro product linked in my Amazon storefront in the video description. Now, like I said, we're going to put the general purpose fertilizer away because we don't need it at this point in the year, and I'm going to show you how to use the Bloom Booster fertilizer to increase huge flushes of flowers on your old plants. So here I have 2 1.5 gallon watering cans. I'm going to use one of these scoopers that come with a little package of Miracle-Gro. This is a 1.5 tablespoon scooper, so we're going to keep the ratio of 1 tablespoon per gallon, which is 1 scooper per watering can. So I'm going to use this Bloom Booster fertilizer, or this Blossom Booster fertilizer, in that ratio. And then I'm going to use one of my secret weapons here, Alaska fish fertilizer. This stuff is magical. It's made out of fermented ground up fish. It's full of micronutrients, and it has an NPK of 5:1:1. So it is a little bit higher in nitrogen, but I have the really strong soluble stuff in here, so it won't hurt in any way. I'm just going to shake this up, and I'm going to give each watering can maybe a 2-second pour. And that's like giving your plants a giant multivitamin. Now I'll fill up these watering cans and take it to my plants. And now we're going to water in between the rows of the peppers. Here you can see I have some drip line installed there. I use that drip line to water the roots in between rows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply take my watering can full of the blossom boosting formula, and I'm going to run it up and down that drip line. And that's going to hit the roots in between both rows. And one watering can is going to do approximately 2 4-foot wide rows. So it's going to take me about 3 to 4 watering cans to do this entire bed right here. Now that the bed has been fertilized, I will follow up with a second feeding in about 7 days. Then, in about 2 to 3 weeks from now, we will check back in with an update on these plants. In about 2 weeks, I should start seeing a change in the behavior of these different pepper plants, and I should start seeing a flush of blossoms. So when that happens, I will make sure to follow up. And here we are on Sunday, August 8th. We've had 5 days of torrential rain, recorded almost 7 inches, but even so, I was able to get 2 individual fertilizings with the bloom booster in there. And if you recall, this tree right here, my potted plant, sure didn't have any peppers left on it. Now it is just loaded. I wish I could have shown you how many blooms were on this tree, but I couldn't because the rain was so bad for days on end. But you can still see there are some blossoms hanging on, but most of them have already turned into extreme fruit set. So I have just dozens and dozens of cherry peppers on here, where before you witnessed me pick this bush completely clean. So very happy about that. And here is my pepper bed that I harvested all my peppers from before. Again, I couldn't show you all of the profuse blooming because of all the bad weather, but now they are so laden with fruit that some of them are starting to fall over. You can still see some blooms here and there. There are still some blooms that haven't yet turned into fruit. There's a few there, there's a few there. They're scattered all over the place. Pretty much anywhere you look, there's a few blooms. But what's really impressive is how much fruit has formed on top of all of these plants. So I'm seeing just a tremendous amount of little baby peppers forming all over the place. You can see all of these little baby peppers everywhere. There's flowers everywhere, and they are all coming back very strongly. More baby peppers there. Just everywhere you look, there are flowers and peppers forming. So I'm very happy with how far along these plants that I mostly picked clean now are. You'll see, remember, I harvested most of these. They're starting to load back up again. Look how many jalapenos are on that plant. And remember, I've still been harvesting these for my salads and my normal meals throughout the week. Look at all those peppers there. That is just crazy. Everywhere you look, peppers, peppers, peppers. You can see these are all baby peppers. These weren't here when I originally filmed me picking all of these bushes clean. You'll see lots and lots of peppers forming in there as well. Still a lot of flowers and little baby peppers forming everywhere you look. These are all brand new peppers forming here. We have more brand new peppers forming here. So you can see how fast the turnaround time is for the flowering and fruiting process for peppers in the heat of the summer. You can pick these plants clean, give them 2 fertilizings, and in a few weeks you will have a boatload of additional peppers. And that right there is how you can double your pepper harvest simply by exploiting the natural life cycle of the pepper plant itself. Just harvest off the fruits, hit it with a high phosphorus bloom boosting style fertilizer once or twice, and within about 2 to 3 weeks, your pepper plants should be loaded up with peppers for another harvest. In fact, if you live in a place with a very warm season, you can possibly do this 3 times, maybe even 4 or 5 times if you live in a place where you don't see frosts and freezes and the summers are very long and warm. So everybody, I sure hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please make sure to hit that like button, and if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe for future updates and more videos like these. If you're curious about any of the products that I used in this video or in my garden in general, they are all linked in my Amazon storefront down in the video description. If you'd like to support the channel by purchasing any custom-made merchandise, that is linked in my spread shop, also down in the video description. Thank you all again so much for watching, and I hope to see all of you again on the next video. Dale. 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 What did you do? You destroyed your toy. Dale, look at this mess. Dale, are you going to clean this up? Dale, are you going to clean this mess up? Are you going to clean it up? No? You're going to leave it for me, aren't you? Oh boy. You're in trouble. No, I'm not.